Good evening, good morning, whatever time it may be. Welcome in. We're going to talk about video games and things adjacent to them. Welcome to Respawn Ain't Fire, the Kick-Ass Revenant Game Podcast from Ralph Idiots. I'm your host, Adam. What is your favorite direct-to-DVD/streaming service sequel, Gumbert? Mine, by the way, Good Burger 2. Not that bad. Today we have with us Chad. Give me the answer to that question I just asked, Michael Ennis.
Fun fact, Good Burger 2 filmed in Rhode Island at some old defunct, I don't know, restaurant or something like that. I drove by the corpse of it while I was there recently. And if I remember correctly, Matt's mom was like obsessed with it and was always kind of like driving by and taking pictures and sending them like, oh, they got blah, blah, blah set up here. Ooh, blah. And so like, yeah, fun fact.
But is that your answer to the question?
That is not my answer to the question. The answer to the question was Sharknado 2 direct-to-DVD follow-up?
They were all direct-to-TV, so that one
were
works.
They? Well, yeah, you're right. Sharknado 1 was not. And Sharknado 1, surprisingly entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not even one of those people that likes bad movies. Like, I'm not one of those, oh, it's so bad, it's good, or I love to watch it. No, that's just a waste of my time, and I'm basically almost dead aged right now. So I don't have time to waste on bad movies for the sake of being bad movies. Oh, look at that. Thumbs up, everybody. Woo, 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 fireworks. Innes is my last name.
All right, we also have with us Alex. What is the answer to the question, Cozina?
You know, for a long time, I would have said Atlantis Milo's Return, which I don't know if you remember this. Atlantis Milo's Return was the direct-to VHS/Disney DVD sequel to Disney's Atlantis. Now, the history behind this movie is really interesting. Originally, they were going to do an Atlantis TV series where the idea would be every single episode they would investigate some sort of supernatural like event or creature or occurrence somewhere or other around the world. And then the TV show got shelved, and so they're like, well, we still have these 3 episodes completed. What if we stitch them together and then release them as a movie? And as a kid, I was like, wow, this is like a fun little continuation of the movie that I loved. But as an adult, I watched it recently, and I was like, you can really tell that it was stitched together from 3 episodes, and the animation is not as hot as the movie because, again, it was made for TV. Still solid, though. Still solid.
What about the Aladdin follow-ups, like Return of Jafar,
King of Thieves?
I've not seen them, actually.
Were those directed VHS?
I know King of... I think they both were. Yeah.
Okay, Return of Jafar, then.
There was some podcast recently that I was listening to that was like, Return to Jafar was like secretly like one of the best-selling like VHS/DVDs of like the era in which it came out. Like so many people bought that.
I was thinking like that for being a direct-to-video sequel, I feel like everyone saw that movie. Everyone knows that movie.
Yeah, it's good.
So much so that
it was... Hold on. It was the second animated feature film sequel from Disney. After The Rescuers Down Under, and Return of Jafar was the very first Disney direct-to-video animated feature film.
Smart.
Yeah, so much so that like the events of Return to Jafar are actually covered in Kingdom Hearts 2. It's like the only direct-to-VHS sequel in the entire Disney discography that's actually covered in the Kingdom Hearts games.
That's when you know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, when they're like, we're going to do the direct in the Kingdom Hearts.
No, see, I look at it in the opposite way of like, that's when you know that you've made it into Kingdom Hearts.
Oh my God. Didn't even have Robin Williams.
Y'all,
catch us live on Twitch.tv. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
This movie cost $5 million to make, and it grossed on VHS alone $300 million, making it
not shocked.
Not surprising.
Wild. Catch us live on twitch.tv/AffleIdiot, 7 to 8 evenings at 8:30. YouTube and podcast services at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Coming on today's show, there's a surprise preview for a game that's not out yet.
Oh!
We'll get there when we get there. But first, I want to hear what Chad has to say. Destiny Maker going through some changes for multiple people at VGC. Bungie has announced that it will lay off 220 staff, roughly 17% of the company. Or the studio, excuse me. In a letter published on Wednesday, the Destiny creator cited, quote, rising cost development industry shifts for what it called some of the most difficult changes the studio has had to make. This is all quote from Pete Parsons, CEO of Bungie. First, we are deepening our integration with Sony Interactive Entertainment, working to integrate 155 of our roles, roughly 12%, into SIE over the next few quarters. So on top of the 220 who got laid off, 155 are getting pushed into Sony. Second, we are working with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin out one of our incubation projects, an action game set in a brand new science fantasy universe, to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue its promising development. Steven Totillo's game, is it Philly? Newsletter? Game file?
It's game file.
Why does it have two L's?
Game
I don't know.
file.
That was...
It no longer has two L's. I
It
erased
had
one
it
of them.
in the source I copied it from.
Whoa.
The newsletter cites 3 separate sources, with each claimed that these cuts were already planned by early 2024 before the final shape was released in June. According to Totillo sources, Bungie has been repeatedly missing Sony's financial targets and has been losing money since the release of Lightfall in early 2023. Sources told Totillo that Bungie management agreed last year they would make deep cuts to prove to Sony it was serious about managing its finances. More details have reportedly emerged on Payback, Bungie's now canceled project. According to Bloomberg report by Agent Schreier, Payback was an incubation project that would be set in the Destiny universe. Rather than a full-blown Destiny 3, Payback was said to be a spin-off that would be played with third-person perspective. It was also claimed that Payback was canceled 2 months ago, with most of the team moved over to work on Marathon. So a lot of movement, a lot of stuff canceled and moving around over there at Bungie. Chad Michael Ennis. Nope.
Nope.
Chad Michael Ennis, the only person who plays Destiny as the only the only person on the planet who only plays one video game that is Destiny. Chad Michael Ennis. How do you feel about these movements?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. Obviously, fucking sucks that we're still in the midst of all of these layoffs and it's affecting everybody. And this is a huge chunk of people that's being affected by this. That sucks. I think also it's probably among all of this too. There's the 115 people moving to 155 being integrated into SIE proper, not just under Bungie, but under the rest of PlayStation Studios, being integrated, taken away from Bungie, and then another studio of an undetermined number of people that are going to form a brand new studio under PlayStation Studios for another one being spun out of Bungie. And the writing is on the wall that Bungie is no longer independent under Sony, but is basically beginning the process of, you all didn't make enough money, you will now become PlayStation Studios under Herman Hulst, will no longer be independent. To be honest, it sounds like that's the right call. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening. Herman Hulst is taking over the blah, blah. It's like, it sounds like they were struggling for years and they need some change in leadership. They need some guidance in what to do. And so I do think that this is going to be good for the longevity of the studio. That being said, I don't know what the fuck is going to come out of this studio, because they specifically in the statement, and first of all, I actually really appreciate the statement from Bungie themselves on the day of, where I feel like it's all too often where we get a nothing statement from people saying, we're laying off X number of people. It's a hard decision for us. Please join us in thanking them for their work. And it's just like, I feel like we get that every third day now this year. But they were actually like, let's look at what caused this. A bunch of shit that, like industry changes, all these things that we couldn't control, us fracturing our talent across a ton of incubation projects and stretching ourselves too thin. And the fact that they turned that around in this statement and said, we are now taking all of that away and only focusing on 2 things, Destiny and Marathon. Marathon doesn't seem like it's going to be like a huge change the world game that's going to keep them afloat for the rest of their lives. And then the other thing that they're focusing on is Destiny, which it's now been revealed thanks to Jason Schreier, like the next Destiny thing, which is not Destiny 3, but instead Payback, which is this, I think in the Schreier article, they mentioned it was kind of going to be inspired by Genshin Impact as that type of game, but in the Destiny universe. Like it didn't sound like that's no longer in development. And then from a bunch of other random shit that's popping up here and there, like Destiny 3 is not currently in development. We are not getting big expansions anymore along the lines of Lightfall. That's not official things, but it's, I mean, you probably could have guessed that after the end of this anyway, and the current episode structure that Destiny has. But all of that being said, Marathon is not a huge thing that's going to change the world and fund this studio for the rest of time. And they are not working on anything currently Destiny related. That is also, they're not selling big expansions. They're not working on a sequel game. How are they going to continue? How are they staying afloat? What are they going to do? Like, what are they working on? If they are keeping behind people solely to focus on, in large part, Destiny 2, and they don't have any large Destiny 2 content coming behind, that sounds ominous. That sounds like it's a recipe for much more layoffs and possibly the closure or repurposing of this studio into something completely different. So yeah, lots of mixed feelings. There are a lot of people who are like taking this as an opportunity to say, "Oh my God, this is the end. This is the worst thing," and they're making a bunch of. I mean, we've said as the Destiny community of the last 10 years has done 45,000 different times. We've said it's over. This is it. This is the end of Destiny. This is the end of Bungie. We've said that 45,000 times. But then 6 months later, we're like, "Oh my God, it's the best it's ever been." So I am waiting to hear a follow-up from Bungie. Like, what's next? What is our plan for Destiny? What is our plan for Marathon, and how are we going to make it engaging and make you care about it? What is our plan for what's next? Like, I am eagerly awaiting their explanation and their outlook as a way to justify their place in this industry anymore, because it does not look good. Alex, what would you like to say?
Here's the thing.
We here on this podcast. I'm kidding. Go for it, Alex.
We here on this podcast have a recurring joke where every single week Chad will come in just balls flopping around and say, guys, guess
flopping
what?
Around.
You're not going to believe this, but I beat Destiny 2 once again for the first time. He does this every single week, and of course we don't mind this at all. We all find this funny. But I'd like to think that there is a developer from Destiny out there who listens to us, who absolutely hates it, and every few months is like, what's something shitty I can do to Bungie to basically, once again, like, unhinge Chad and make his balls flop a little too wildly. And that man is Pete Parsons.
Oof. Yeah, I do not see Pete Parsons sticking around much longer, especially after all of the people who have left the company, who are now coming out and speaking about just how shitty he was, the shitty things he has done, the shitty way that he led, all of that kind of stuff. Is like, I don't. He's not like a gross Bobby Kotick type person, but he's not the kind of person that you want leading that studio. And at the end of the day, honestly, Pete Parsons is gone. This is again reading tea leaves. Pete Parsons is gone. We've now lost 400-500 people after, combined with October's layoffs last year as well. And then, like, it's that old adage, like, if you take a ship and you replace one plank at a time, and then eventually none of the original planks are there, is it still the same ship? Like, is Bungie still the same company after a while, after all these layoffs, after all this, churn of employees? Everyone who's there is disgruntled and not feeling safe and doesn't want to work there, and all that. This will be a very different studio, I think, in 2 years, from a who works their perspective, as well as a what they produce kind of thing, if they're even around at all. Which is shitty to say. The company that made Destiny and Halo, two of the biggest gaming franchises right now I wouldn't say right now for Halo, but two of the biggest gaming franchises, I think, in the last 20-30 years.
They'll still be around. They probably won't look. This is the same team that was around 2 years ago, which is, I mean, here's the thing. This is true for any company. You don't say, none of these companies get bought because like somebody just came out of nowhere with a bunch of money. They're like, oh, that sounds fun. These companies are always looking to sell and just like, buy us. Look, we're worth something. We're valuable. Buy us, please. Nobody gets bought because when they don't want to sell. Like, you don't walk up to your next door neighbor and say, I want to buy your house, and he gives you your house, unless he was already looking to get rid of his house.
Right.
So, again, I'm with you. It sucks, obviously, who knows those people. Who knows what that company looks like? But based on the past, when companies sell to bigger companies, they was probably going to get pretty bad anyways.
Yeah.
So, part of this trajectory is probably going to happen. I'm just curious about the game side of it, like what's going to happen in the future. Like
It's so funky too to think that like one of the people that left, it looks like they weren't part of the layoffs, but that they left as a result.
there were a
of
couple dudes that left that were high up. They
Yeah,
were just
one of them was basically, who's the guy who's in charge of the Star Wars lore? There's like one guy at Disney.
Yeah, there's like
who's in charge of that guy for Destiny was gone. He was one of the leads, I guess, on Payback, and he was one of the people that turned around Destiny as a franchise and made the narrative what it was and all that kind of stuff. And he's now gone, and it's like, how do you continue developing things in that universe? And again, and the other person was in charge of Destiny, the property, and how it appears in not just games, but other things as well. If they decided to go into movies and TV and comic books and all that, well, they do have comic books, old ones, but yeah, that to have those people who are so foundational to the universe that you've created now gone, and what is who knows what this game looks like? So I'm trying not to be one of those doomsday people who is like, oh my god, everything's fucking over, it's done, this is the worst thing in the world, until I hear kind of what they've got up their sleeve, what's coming next, or we don't have anything up our sleeve, but here's how we're gonna land on our feet and what we plan to do to like figure out how to continue on and make money. I don't know how the fuck they're gonna make money anymore.
When
Sony will figure it out for them, is basically
when
what's
all the
gonna happen,
news
I
was
think.
breaking about Pete Parsons and his hundreds of cars, I was trying to think to myself, like, if Pete Parsons walks into Bungie the following week like nothing happened, what kind of glorious pranks and guffaws do you pull on him to finally convince him to quit? Like, do you just like plaster like pictures of cars all over his workstation? Do you, like drive a car into his office?
I'm sure. When did this deal go through? When did Sony buy Bungie?
2022, I believe it was.
That sounds right.
It was in one of the stories I was reading earlier, but I'm pretty sure it's 2022.
July of 2022.
Yep, there you go.
So it has now been 2 full years. Either
Getting close to them stocks options, ain't he, baby?
Either those stocks just vested and he's like, cool, it's been 2 years, you've met that part of your contract, or he's probably maybe got a third year. And so I would imagine no matter what you do, if he's got a third year left, he's not going anywhere probably on his own until July 2025.
Well, Chad, we know how sensitive and easy it is to influence big CEOs. Everyone in every company, they go broke and nobody likes them and they go home and cry. Oh, no, they all go home with billions of dollars and nothing ever happens to them.
Yeah.
Pete Parsons will be fine. It sucks, but he'll be fine. But you should, if you want to drive a car through his office, Cozy, that's on you. Take it up with the police.
But it has to be, like, to be clear, we're not trying to kill Pete Parsons.
You're the one saying it. I'm not saying anything.
We just want to give him ever so slight of a shit in his pants.
No, what
he
did
is
he sold the company, made a shit ton of money. He's going to get even more money with his vested stocks, and he plans to leave and let Sony take over the rest of it. And then the gamers will be left to Sony will figure something out, hopefully. That's how it works.
Oh, wow.
Is what it is. And that's it for our main story.
No, you know what you do? You go to his pre-existing cars and you just fill them up with like hot Cheetos, like something that like is extremely messy.
Something's going to stain the upholstery.
Leave a stain, but not like a liquid, because we don't want to destroy the car. We don't want to make the car inoperable.
You don't think Cheeto dust is going to destroy expensive?
But in a court of
Italian
law,
leather?
like that won't be like a big deal. The judge will let you pass because it's just hot Cheetos. Very good. All right, moving on to playtime. Talking about playtime, things that we play during playtime. I'm going to save our special preview, special preview for later. I'll go last on that one, so stay around. Cozy, what have you been playing? What the fuck is this?
I saw you playing this on PSN the other night. I was like, what is Alex doing playing BioShock? Should I also play BioShock?
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, earlier, when we recorded our Barf episode for the Tomb Raider game, specifically Tomb Raider 2013, but we also discussed Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider on that episode, we announced that our Barf game for the month of August is going to be The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I predicted, based on our polls, that was probably going to be the winner. and so I decided to start it up. I'm currently 2 dungeons in, and man, I gotta say, that game is really, really redacted. Of course, I'll be saving my thoughts for the BARF review we're going to do of it at the end of the month, but I think I'm probably not going to have 14 pages of notes for this one. I think my thoughts will be nice and concise and possibly very positive. So that's the one thing I've been playing this past week. The other thing is, as you alluded to it earlier, the BioShock 1 challenge rooms. So here's the thing. Way back in the day, a little company called 2K puts out BioShock from good old Ken Levine and his video game company that now no longer exists because he closed it in 2013 or 2014, I forget.
I thought you were going to say his Ghost Games or whatever his company now is closed. I was like,
right.
Really? What?
Yeah, but that's a new studio he founded, of course. Put the game out. Game's very successful. They're like, you know what we're going to release? We're going to release a trophy pack for it called the BioShock Challenge Rooms. 3 different puzzle-based challenges in which players can attempt to use their knowledge and mastery of the various abilities that BioShock offers them to solve issues and rescue little sisters. The challenge rooms barely make a blip on the radar. Nobody ever talks about them. I don't think they ever really even got formally reviewed back in the day. But here's the thing. If you ever play any of the incarnations of the original BioShock on any console of your choice, Xbox, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, you're always reminded that the challenge rooms exist. Because if you get the platinum in the original BioShock, your trophy percentage on the game is still at like 86% instead of 100%, because there's that extra 14% that's reserved for the trophies associated with the challenge rooms. And I never particularly felt inclined in the past to attempt the challenge rooms, because it's like, there's no story content here, it's just challenges. But I'd always been a little bit annoyed by seeing that my trophy completion percentage for that game was never at 100%. And last week I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's give those challenge rooms a shot. And I gotta say, I know nobody particularly needs to hear this. I know that I'm not blowing anyone's minds. I know that nobody's going to run out and be like, yo, guys, the BioShock 1 challenge rooms, game of the year 2024. We've made an incredible discovery here. But BioShock 1 challenge room's pretty good. There's some pretty fun puzzles there. There's one particular challenge where basically you're given a very limited amount of abilities and you have to make your way through a small maze and figure out how to get past these automatic turrets and find how to defeat a big daddy with like no offensive abilities, rescue the little sister from her. Pretty fun. And then once you beat that challenge, it's like, all right, cool. You did that in 15 minutes. Can you do it in 3 minutes? And it's all about optimizing your time, speed running, figuring out how to just do the most essential and critical actions in your run so that you can rescue her in record time. There's another one where your little sister is basically stuck at the top of a Ferris wheel, and the whole puzzle is like you're in this large and like very how do I say let's just say exhaustive space, and it's like you have to power up the Ferris wheel 6 times in a row using electricity-based powers, but generally you can't reuse the same power twice. And so it's like you get exactly 1 thing of electric buck for your shotgun. You have exactly 1 electric bolt for your crossbow. You have exactly 1 opportunity to have a splicer attempt to strike you with their electrified weapon, and then the splicer immediately dies thereafter. And so you have to figure out all these ways to electrify the Ferris wheel controls in a row to rescue the little sister. That's pretty fun. And that also has a thing where once you beat it, it's like, cool, you did that in 50 minutes because that was really confusing and challenging. Now you got to do it in 4 minutes. And then finally, there is Worlds of Hurt, where it basically is, hey, you have a limited amount of money, and you have to use that limited amount of money to select a wide range of different abilities, items, and upgrades. And you have to use those abilities, items, and upgrades to defeat various gauntlets of different types of enemies and big daddies. And every time you defeat a gauntlet, you get a little bit more atom, a little bit more money. You can use those to invest in new abilities, and then it's off to the next gauntlet. None of these things are perhaps the most innovative or unique or interesting things you've ever seen before. A lot of other games have done similar things, but they were surprisingly well designed. I had a lot of fun with them, and I can now proudly say that on PS4 at least, my BioShock 1 trophy completion percentage is at 100% because I beat all the trophies in them.
I was not aware of these challenge rooms. I'm very proud of you. I was not aware of these challenge
Thank you.
rooms. And then I just went on PSN profiles and went back to the PS3 version of BioShock 1. Of course, I have the Platinum Trophy on the PS4 version. But the PS3 version, I went back. Apparently, I did the Iron Team and the Shocking Turn of Events challenges at 5:04 a.m. on November 23rd, 2009, which I assume was like a Thanksgiving week, which is why I was up at 5:04 a.m. doing the Iron Team and 5:50 a.m. doing Shocking Turn of Events.
You were still on East Coast, right? So there's no way that that's like a weird thing. Wow.
It was college.
Worth pointing out, the challenge rooms in the original version of BioShock was paid DLC, but in the remastered versions of the game that came out about a decade ago, they're just included in the package. So that's why I went with the PS4 version. Will I do the PS3 version next? Who's to say? Maybe.
Maybe.
I feel like there's a minimum of 5,822 things you could better do with your time than redo that again on PS3.
I mean, here's the thing. You're not wrong.
I can make the list if you want me to.
You're not wrong, but it is also this thing where, like, I love the BioShock games. BioShock 1, BioShock 2. I've talked a little bit of shit about BioShock Infinite, but truth be told, I thought that game was actually pretty solid as well. And it's been a while since we've last had a BioShock game. Seems like it will still be a while longer before we get BioShock 4. The new game from, what's it called? Judas, from Ghost Story Games. It seems like that game's more imminent, but it still seems like it'll be a while till we get that game as well. I just wanted a little bit of BioShock in my system, and I feel like this was fulfilling in that regard.
Good to hear.
I appreciate that.
Chad, what about you? What have you been doing this summer's eve?
Well, Destiny 2.
You beat it?
I beat it. We beat the Grandmaster Nightfall again this week. This is one of those weird things where, you know, the news of the week will really put the damper on it. Like I literally played just the Nightfall of that, and then I played the weekly story mission stuff, which puts an end cap on this act of this episode, so we don't get more story stuff for another like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. But it was an interesting little twist at the end of this one, a little cliffhanger with someone who we've heard about for a very long time, but I don't think we've ever seen.
No, we have not.
Shows up as the villain in this little arc of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have seen.
You haven't seen this version.
We have seen this physical form,
but not this version.
But not this person who is inhabiting this physical form.
Yes.
So yeah, that was an interesting little twist. But then after that, I was like, feels weird playing it right now. So I haven't played that. I did play a little bit of Tomb Raider. It was our barf game for the month, as Alex mentioned. So we just finished recording that right now. So if you're listening to this on demand, it should already be up as well. Yeah, played a little bit of that. Played Beat Saber. You'll all be happy to know that I am 4.5 hours of playtime away from the Platinum Trophy on that one. I just have to play for 4.5 hours to get the 24-hour trophy. And I'll have that Platinum for the second time. And then T.
Did you say RB?
Not yet.
Okay.
Saving that for last. T. Thrasher.
Okay, yeah.
Thrasher. The makers of Thumper, which was a PlayStation VR 1 launch title. Maybe the best of all of the launch titles on PlayStation 1. Probably top 5, in fact, VR titles on PlayStation VR 1 as well. They have a new game called Thrasher. I can't remember. Is it Thrasher or Thresher? I think it's Thrasher.
Thrasher, I think, yeah.
Thrash?
With an A.
Thrasher. It is Thrasher. And it is a game that aesthetically looks very familiar if you're familiar with Thumper. You know, Thumper's the one, it's got like the big heavy drum beats and this tribal music and you're just like in this kind of vast polygonal environment rolling towards these like demon shapes in the distance. And you're a little beetle that's like hitting things and jumping and stuff like that and avoiding stuff on this kind of roller coaster track through this giant void in rhythm to the music. Thrasher, you are controlling this really, it's again, same type of thing. These little demons off in the distance, is like same type of environment, same type of music, really engaging, gets your fucking pumped for the game. And you're controlling an eel, a really cool looking like electric eel. And you are, instead of going on a track and hitting things in rhythm, you are hitting rings in the area around you while avoiding obstacles and things like that. I've only played literally like 20 minutes of it. I was looking for yet another thing to do on my Vision Pro to justify having bought one. And so this launch on MetaQuest, PlayStation VR 2, Vision Pro, and something else. Steam VR probably. And so yeah, I got it. It was $20 on Vision Pro. On Vision Pro, at least, you control it just with your hand movement. You control where the eel goes, and so you're like dodging things and moving all around. And it is, if you're a fan of Thumper, I highly recommend picking up this game. It is just as cool and engaging. I'm curious to see, like, Thumper gets really complex in like the obstacles that you're dodging and the type of maneuvers that you have to do. I'm interested to see how this kind of evolves, because I've only now beat World 1 Level 2 at this point, but I can tell I'm going to be just as sucked into this one. It's going to be so good. So Thrasher, that's out right now. And Alex, you will be happy to hear that I have beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh, what?
I have completed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
As of about 2:15. Sorry, no, actually it was like 1:45.
It's gonna
1:45
you
today.
Beat all of the side quests in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Alex,
beat the Queen's Blood side
would
quest.
you believe me if I said I've completed about 95% of the side quest content before I realized there's a lot of stuff you can only do after you've beat the game, in which case I was like, oh, well, let me at least beat the game and then I'll be a little bit more powered up. So yesterday, early afternoon, I hit the point of no return in the game. And I said, ooh, okay, maybe I'll just do it. And so I texted a friend. I was like, hey, I hit the point of no return. I think just after dinner, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna marathon it. Can't be too much left, right?
Get that text, Cozy? You said I texted a friend. Didn't text either one of us.
Well, I had to be surprised. I had to reveal this on the podcast.
Yeah, it's very true.
Turns out, from the point of no return, there are 7 more hours of gameplay. The final boss battle alone is 2 hours long. So yeah, I played...
That final dungeon is very long.
Yes. So I played a few hours last night, woke up, played the last few hours this morning and early afternoon, and I have beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I am definitely going to go back and platinum it, which includes... I like this. It has chapter select afterwards. Your progress, like you can like, hey, I want to go back to chapter 2, and you can say, when I go back to chapter 2, I'm going to keep all of my equipment and all of my stuff, and also pretend like I did all the side quests already, and just let me like do all. And it's like, oh, awesome, cool, love that. And then I think the hardest part is going to be doing every chapter. Go back and doing chapter select on hard mode. Cannot freaking wait. So yes, I have beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am ready for a spoiler cast. I don't know what's taking you so long to schedule one with me, Alex, but like I'm ready to do it.
I mean, I think we got to do it. I think we need some super duper guests for this one though that can help us out with our discussions.
Beat it but you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everyone I know who bought this game has not played more than 20 hours of it. Actually, that's a lie. Jerica Hanna has beat it. So maybe we'll invite Jerica over.
Yeah. We've had former guests who I know have beaten it. I don't know if they're... I'm not going to speak for them and say they want to do a spoiler cast, but I know people who have.
Okay. Let's definitely... I mean, I don't have a specific date in mind. We definitely should do this. We have to... I feel like we got to figure out some angle to this that makes it... I mean... Here's the thing. We can come out and say, hey, we're doing our Final Fantasy VII Rebirth spoiler cast, and nobody's going to mind. But I feel like it would be cool if we could figure out some sort of angle to explain why we're doing this now.
We could.
Chad was in a coma for 6 months, and he just now beat it. Come and see what he thought after being in a coma.
This would be hard to schedule, but it could be like, assuming this probably gets a nomination at Game Awards, you could just be like, we're going to do a spoiler cast for every nominee of Game of the Year at Game Awards.
Yeah, and then we
But
do
I also
Final
don't know what else
Fantasy
is going to be
Rebirth
there.
first, and then we guess that idea tanked, and we only did
Oh.
one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
spitballing. I don't.
We'll think
have an
about
idea.
it. We'll think about it.
By the way, it took me a little bit less than the time it took James Franco to finally work up the guts to cut his arm off with a pocket knife. Took me 111 and a half hours.
Whoa.
So I'm sure I still probably got 50 or 60 left at least for the platinum, for the hard mode runs, and for all the rest of the trophies I got to mop up. So feeling real accomplished. I'm feeling exhausted, but like in that good way. And then so eager to figure out what the fuck is going on in part 3. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll mention is just like, look at all these little Pokeballs. Look at all these little Pokeballs I printed. Little 3D printing little Pokeballs. There's this great designer on Maker World who's like, has all of these. He's designing these that you put them all together piece by piece, or you print them out in pieces and then like just kind of snap them together. And poor Joel's wife, he's printing all of them. I printed just the 4 from the original game, not counting the Safari Ball, because the depiction of the Safari Ball in future games does not match what you see in the sprite in the original games. Anyway, so but Joel is printing all of these balls, and his wife is just like, cool, looks like you what are you gonna do with all those? Where are you gonna put those? Looks like you got them all. And he's like, nope, the designer just posted a bunch more, I'm gonna print some more. And she's like, cool, this is great.
He's gonna flop them all over the places.
He's gonna flop those balls into a challenge ring. Yeah, that's it. That's everything, I think. Did I cover everything? Yeah.
I think you did. All right. As for me, God, it took 7 months, but Chad beat Rebirth. As for me, I've only played a couple things. Nothing crazy new. I will say Fortnite, getting to the end of the season, haven't played a ton of it. But, Chad, what are the 2 things that I just love unabashedly that a 10-year-old boy also
Pirates
likes?
and ninjas and cowboys.
Not ninjas, but pirates and cowboys. You nailed it. Pirates of the Caribbean is in Fortnite. I was like, fuck. I gotta buy fucking Jack Sparrow. Like, I gotta buy Barbossa. I gotta buy Davy Jones. So I had to play Fortnite. This is what I'll do. I don't play Fortnite, but I'm like, but I do need to buy those skins because one day I might play it again and I want to be able to beat Jack Sparrow. So I played it a little bit just to unlock
But those
Jack
skins
Sparrow.
also carry over to other Fortnite properties, right?
Yeah, if I play Lego Fortnite and shit, it's all in there.
And who knows
Lego
what else
Legends.
might be there in the future that you could play as Jack Sparrow as.
That's true. I gotta be him. I gotta unlock his skeleton version. Spoilers for the first movie that came out 20 years ago. He turns into a skeleton at the end of that movie. So yeah, I've been playing Fortnite a little bit. Yeah, that movie came out in like 2003 or 2002. It's wild. But the preview that I've been talking about, let me read my embargo information because I don't want to say anything wrong. I'm allowed to have a preview, not a review. I'm talking about this game. Game comes out August 8th. The game I've been playing is called Deathbound.
Oh shit! August 8th, huh?
Yeah, August 8th is when that game comes out. You might recall I talked about
Steam
this.
or something.
No, that game is coming to Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. It will be on everything August 8th. I believe it's going to be $30. I don't have an official word, but when I did some Googling around, it looked like $29.99 was the suggested USD.
It is not on the PlayStation Store website as
No,
like a
not
pre-order
yet.
or anything like that.
Yeah, there's no pre-order. It's just like when it comes out, you can get it on the day it comes out.
Cool.
I did some research before I did this. But yeah, Deathbound, we all played it at PAX East. I had an earlier version of it as well. It is a party-based roguelike, or excuse me, not party-based, right? Party-based Souls-like. So it's like a Souls game, right? It's got the similar mechanics where, you got to be kind of careful, can't just run into it. You've got your flask or whatever. The difference is that you have a party of 4 different character archetypes, and you just switch and morph into the different characters as you play. So I got my dude with my shield, and he can parry and stuff, but then I can switch either while I'm dodging or while I'm attacking, press a button, morph into the rogue character, and now I've got a quick knife and I can shoot arrows and stuff. So it's about balancing your party, but also playing a Souls-like game. So I can talk up to a certain boss I beat. So it's only like the first 2 hours of the game or whatever. But yeah, I like it. They've also done the thing from the demo to now, which is they're really incorporating the story stuff into it. So it's an interesting world where it's like there clearly was technology, like, because there's cars and there's like laboratories and there's like real science stuff everywhere, but all that went away and everyone's like in night times and they're like, we praise the goddess death or whatever. So it's that motif, but inside of a modern world. But playing the full version, there's like a bunch of whenever you pick up characters, like they'll interact with each other now. They all talk between each other. There's story moments where like you click on a memory and then they're like going through their lives. So I didn't see that in my initial demo that I played. So that's been pretty cool to actually have some story stuff and fleshing out the world and all the characters like have a goal. They're like, we're trying to go here. We're trying to find this guy. It's very cool and very neat.
That was when I talked to the devs at PAX, that was one of the biggest things. They're like, hey, this is a Souls game, except for we are overtly telling you the story rather than making you read a bunch of item descriptions and watch YouTube videos to figure out how cool it is. So I was very excited to see that.
None of that, not reading anything. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. The boss fights are really cool, the two that I got to do. And I've enjoyed these different characters than I played during the demo, which is interesting. Four different characters than I had initially. So Deathbound, I was looking forward to it, being able to play the full thing. Still interested, still good so far within that first couple hours. I can have a full review next week.
Okay.
So that's when I'll have it beaten and be able to like tell you for sure. But based on that first couple hours.
Oh, they give you like a how long to beat kind of estimation?
Yeah, I have an idea of how long it should take me, so I think I'll be good by next week.
But that's not something we can say live right now. Okay.
I don't know, but I'm not going to chance it. But yeah, Deathbound, look out. Comes out August 8th. It's indie Souls-like. You might enjoy.
Cool. I am adding it to my Gaming Buddy app so that it will show up on my calendar whenever it's here.
Yeah, very nice. And that's it for that. We're gonna move into none of that. Well, I didn't put it in the list because I don't want a bunch of bummer moves, but Game Informer closed down. That's fucking.
Oh yeah,
sucks.
right. Fucking.
Just heads up. Give all those guys love people who used to work at Game Informer, and if you have those magazines, share that stuff around. Because when you go to the website now, it's just the letter saying we closed down. Because I was trying to do research for another thing, and it's like Game Informer's Game of the Year 2016, same page. You can't. Everything on that website is gone now.
Wow. GameStop's not even paying to keep the servers up to host all that old content.
So, no joke, while Adam was talking, I went and looked up I was looking up images of Deathbound. One of the images came from a Game Informer article. And I was like, I'm going to click on this image. And then I got presented with the screen being like, yeah, thanks for all the years of laughs. Fuck you.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I just want to look at this image of Deathbound.
Nope. All those people's work is gone. So that sucks. Hope they all end up being okay. But that was, again... That's the one gaming magazine that I think a lot of people of a certain generation even knew or cared about. So it's fucked up. That was me as a kid. I didn't care about EGM. Only one I ever liked was Game Informer because you could get it at GameStop. So I was there anyways. And then Official Xbox Magazine because they gave you a demo disc every month. And those were the only two.
Game Informer was the only one for me. Yeah. I had those covers up on my wall. That was my... Aside from a poster of the Two Towers movie, I had fucking just Game Informer covers on my college dorm room wall.
This kid fucks.
Yeah.
Two Towers and Game Informer. Yep. Go ahead, Alice, what were you going to say?
I was going to say real quick, I didn't subscribe to any gaming magazines, but I did get Lego Magazine, which not only was great, but came every 2 months with a new Bionicle comic. What a good time.
Well, that's why Game Informer doesn't exist anymore, because you didn't subscribe, Alex.
Yeah, you should have bought one.
No, it's all my fault.
GameStop, though, making all the best moves possible. Go buy Funkos at a place that doesn't sell video games or video game magazines. Anyways, moving on from that, it's time for...
Segment from Adam, my baby.
What we're doing this week, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share screen?
Nice.
Hold on, I got to click on it for you, Chad. There we go.
Excelente.
This week, my segment...
Don't scroll up or down at all. Or if you do, I got to readjust the crop.
You're good. We're playing a little segment I like to call Tier Time. It's time to tier some stuff. Ooh. Last time we did this, me and Chad tiered the best games that we had played in 2024 so far. Alex, you weren't there, and it would have been great if you were there because you played Nintendo games, so we would have added those to the list. But we determined of the games we played, what do we think they are in Game of the Year contention?
I'm going to click something real quick that might fuck up me on everything. So just give me a hot second to make sure this doesn't. Okay, can you all still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're good.
Very nice. This time, I've decided. So here's what we're going to do. what I've done is I've gone on multiple. This is why the Game Informer thing also came up, because I was trying to look on their website earlier today. I've taken Game of the Year winners from different organizations and publications. So in this thing, I have the BAFTAs, I have DICE Awards, I have IGN, and I have Keighley Game Award. These are all people who have won at one of those outlets, right?
Okay.
And the idea is I want us to tier, there's 10 of them. I want us to tier these games. Again, they're Game of the Year winners, so they're good games. We're not going to try saying these games are garbage, obviously. Well, maybe you could if you wanted to. The idea is, like, how do we feel that this Game of the Year speaks as a Game of the Year? Like, is this an amazing Game of the Year? Like, it pushed everything forward. This is influential. This is obviously the right choice. This one seemed like a boring save. However we want to define it, but like, how good of a Game of the Year is this selection as this people's Game of the Year?
What was the thought process behind the specific like range of years that we're choosing from? Because I see GoldenEye, which is like in the late 90s. You have Okami from 2007.
Well, I'll go through when I get there.
Okay.
No, my initial idea was to do every launch year Game of the Year from like one publication. But I was like, it would be more fun to just have a smattering from different people. Because different people have different opinions, right? Because if we just go off of Jeff Keighley, it's going to be a certain kind of game and it only goes back to 2014. So I wanted a bigger swath of things to do. So I'm like, instead of doing launch year Game of the Years, let's just do overall Game of the Years from everybody and see how, like, different people thought at different times at different publications. But the idea is, how do we feel like it is as a Game of the Year winner? So none of these games suck, but how do we feel, again, how does it influence the entire industry? How is it, how good of a pick do we feel like this is? So first up, we're going to go, I don't remember the publication. It was in 2005, though, I believe. Okami. That was, I think that might have been a BAFTA one. Maybe it was a DICE one, but Okami did win a Game of the Year at some publication in 2005. Where do we feel like Okami deserves to be on this list?
I'll go ahead and bow out for this reason on this particular game.
Bow
wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. I only played this game for about 20 minutes on Nintendo Wii because I played it with the Wii remote. I got it for Christmas, and the IR blaster from the Wii remote kept bouncing off of all the Christmas ornaments on the tree that was beside the TV, which means it fucked up where the pointer was on the TV. It was unreliable, and I couldn't control it. So I was like, I'll play this whenever it comes to, or whenever I get back to college, or we take down the tree, or I don't know what year this was, but I never picked it up again. So I've only played about 20 minutes of Okami, so I cannot speak to it.
I have an experience with it. Alex, how do you feel about this game? You do like Okami, right?
I did play this game. Yes, I played this back in the day on the Wii with the copy of the game that had the IGN logo embedded in the box art because someone didn't pay attention. Okami is such a weird game because it came out at the exact same time as The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And Okami, for those who don't know, is a Zelda-like game, like very Zelda-like game, in which you play as a wolf, and Twilight Princess is a Zelda game in which you also play as a wolf. And I feel very conflicted because I really like Okami, and I also feel like there are a lot of people out there that like hate Twilight Princess a lot and like try to stick it to it by being like, man, Okami is so much better. And it's like, I think they're both, weirdly, I think both actually kind of have like a lot of these same issues as one another. I think Okami definitely wins in terms of having the superior art style, but Okami also like infamously has a very long and tedious opening, which Twilight Princess has as well. I mean, this is not an indication of the game's quality.
Well, no, one game of the year. We cannot say that any of these games are bad. They won Game of the Year.
But I feel like I would put this in D.
I'm going to go with you there. I just like, as someone, I also played Okami for the Wii. It was fine. I didn't love it. I understand why we wouldn't award. For me, I'm just also like, okay, I think the game is fine. I didn't love it that much. And also, what did it do interesting or bring to the industry, right? Like, I don't know anyone who's like, oh man, this game influenced by Okami. Like, I've never heard anyone say that about anything.
I would say the art style is definitely influential, but then I feel like you could also say, well, the Wind Waker was more influential than it, even because it came out several years prior.
Well, that's not on this list because it didn't win the Game of the Year award. So,
anyways,
I'm with you. I'm going to put it in D. I just don't feel like it added anything, and I didn't like the video game as it was.
Yeah, and again, I feel like a lot of the reasons why people propped up that game in particular was, again, people who came into Twilight Princess sort of disappointed by what it was and were like, I like Okami. Okami's way better. And it's like, they're both great. They're both great.
I think the last
One
thing
is
I'll
not
contribute to
that
this
much better than the other.
is
What's up, Chad?
I never, in my brain this whole time that Alex has been talking, I've been trying to land the plane on what this could be, but I never really got there. But I'll let you know that in an alternate universe, I made a Carly Rae Jepsen joke. Okami maybe, but I never got there here or figured out where that would fit in or how to make it funny. So
back in the day when IGN did their like Game of the Year video for 2006, they did a parody of Pony by Genuine, but with like replacing it with like Okami stuff.
Fucking wild. Next up, I'm gonna go with Journey. Let's talk about Journey. That was probably the first like smaller indie game that got like a lot of Game of the Year award love that I can remember. There might have been someone before that, but I remember that being the first like, yo, indies. Game of the Year. So where would we put this? As far as influence, as far as quality, what do you think this is as far as a Game of the Year contender? I will say, I've actually never beaten Journey. I think I've only played like 15 minutes of it.
It's like 45 minutes long.
I know it's not very long. I did not finish it though.
I would honestly, I'll give it A tier as like a Game of the Year contender. This was,
okay,
as you mentioned, kind of put indie games on the map as like this can be just as good an experience as a AAA game. On a console level. I mean, before that, I think we've Gone Home, I think, preceded this on PC, and we might have had some indie stuff over there. But like, this was the first thing in mainstream gaming. You're like, oh, Journey. I maybe play. Well, that's a lie. I don't even think anyone who only plays Madden and Call of Duty knew what Journey was. But I think this game made me feel some things. I think it still stands the test of time. Has a great art style, and I'm gonna say, hey, it was a great Game of the Year contender.
I beat this game as well back in the day, and I would actually put it at B. I agree with what Chad said about how this is definitely an indie game that put indie games on the map. I mean, I think it's significant that this is one of the first real prominent indie games to receive the honor of Game of the Year. I've always had a bit of a bone to pick, not so much with this game, but with a lot of the people that kind of upholded it as like this truly great experience, on the basis that I never loved it when people would say like, oh man, this game is great because it's a game that anybody can play and enjoy. Your mom can enjoy this simple game. And I understand what they're trying to say by that, but I always just found that to be kind of demeaning in a way. I understand that you're trying to praise this game for the simplicity of its design and the simplicity of its control scheme, but I feel like at the same time you're also you're like putting down a lot of other games around it, and also you're again demeaning like what like non-gamers and more casual players are capable of doing. And for that reason, I've always just felt very weird about so much of the discourse surrounding people praising it surrounding its merits. But I'd put it at B.
All right. How do we come to... let me see. I guess I'll just have to make a decision. Do I think it looks better in A or B? It does have music by Austin Wintory. Very good musician. I also don't like to agree with Cozy on anything. So that also pushes it. I'm just going to... This is dumb, but for a personal reason, I didn't even bother finishing it. I would say, I guess, B over A. Even though I think Chad probably has the better argument. But since I have to be a tiebreaker, I didn't finish it. What do you want me to do?
Damn. All right.
Next up, It Takes Two, which I believe won at multiple award shows as their Game of the Year. It Takes Two. How do you feel about that as a Game of the Year winner? I'm gonna say so. Played this game obviously. Like when Game Awards was coming up, I knew this game was going to win. I mean, I fucking knocked Game Award predictions out of the park.
This was
Everyone
a barf game, actually, that I did not participate in, but I know you guys did.
It was, because I wanted to do it as a Game of the Year, like, play this game for Game of the Year preparation, whatever. Yeah, okay. And I do love the amount of, variety. I do like there's just 100 different games in this one video game. But like I said on that bar review, like I do not like that story at all, not even a little bit.
You don't like the
idea
racist Book of Love?
No, I actually do like the Book of Love a lot. Actually, it's my favorite character in the game. I looked it up. That guy's actually of Mexican descent, so I guess it's okay. No, the entire idea of these people's relationship doesn't work, but if you just force it to work, then you can get back together and everything's happy. I'm like, that's not a good good moral of that story. If you shouldn't be together, it's okay to be adults and understand that relationships don't work. They're like, no. If you become dolls and you're forced to be together because your daughter guilts you into it, then everything will be okay. It's like the minute that kid turns 18, these people are hating each other and moving away. I'm going to also go a B because I do find the variety very fun. I did see it coming away. I do like Hazelight. I like Joseph Ferris, Again, another idea of a smaller game winning game of the year. I just do not like the story a little bit. The moral of the story I think is awful. But I do see why it won. So I would just say B just for a starter. I don't know.
I've not played this game.
Oh, sorry. Go Kazi.
I've not played this game, so I can't speak too much to it. I will say, I like the idea of, a mid-sized game, a game that's not like an indie, but also not a super-duper big-budget AAA game winning this sort of thing. I want to say it might have been this year. Maybe it was the year following. This was around the same time that Untitled Goose Game won Game of the Year, not at Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, but I want to say
DICE Award. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that game winning DICE Game of the Year, I feel like is the better version of this game winning Jeff Keighley's Game of the Year award, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it's at B. It's at B.
I think B is a good spot for it. I enjoyed. I really liked the variety. I do feel like I remember myself thinking about every hour. I'm like, oh man, we must be getting close to the end, right? Oh fuck, no, there's a whole separate room we haven't been in, a whole separate scenario. And I felt like that happened like 15 times. It was like, I like this game a lot and I like playing it, but I'm also ready for it to be done. So yeah, B sounds good.
Going to B, that works. Next up, GoldenEye 007.
Oof.
Now, here's a fun thing, though, because obviously trying to play that game now does not feel good at all.
But yeah,
at the time, it was definitely like, holy shit, we're actually playing a shooter on console with our friends. So yeah. I understand why, again, everyone, when they think back, oh, my memories of GoldenEye were so good. And I get why it would win Game of the Year award. I don't want to necessarily take my feelings 30 years later almost to be like, this game feels like garbage, because it does. But at the time, I see why it was so innovative. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to weigh the difference between it actually plays like shit and it was actually very innovative for the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out the balance.
I have to, again, abstain from this one because my only perception of 007 GoldenEye is as, I think college was the first time I played it. And so it was already super dated. But at the time...
Why were you playing it in college?
We were... What?
Why were you guys playing that game in college?
People on N64, and it was like, oh, let's play.
But it's like 10 years old at that point.
Yeah. We were a Perfect Dark family. So we had Perfect Dark, and we were playing the shit out of that, which I understand a lot of 007s, especially like the multiplayer master, just straight up copy-pasted into Perfect Dark and like palette swap some stuff. But yeah, we were a Perfect Dark family, so I've only played 007 when it looked gross and played gross.
Yeah, okay.
And I couldn't get into it.
Cozy?
Sorry, just checking my phone. Wow. I'd be fine with this actually going at A or even S. As somebody that has not played this game much at all, outside of a few brief moments of like logging into Nintendo Switch Online to mess around with its controls a little, like, this is one of those instances where, like, yeah, it's not aged super well, but I feel like the just culture and the like universal like acceptance and love that people had for this game, I feel is really kind of worth something in this particular instance. And I feel like that ought to be reflected in its placement on the list.
I'm with you on this one. I don't think it deserves S. I don't think it's that good. But I think of all the games on the list, that's the only one that actually was like a shaker and a mover, like, that helped normalize competitive shooters on console. So I think A, B, or C. Cozy, obviously you would say A because it's top. Chadward, you were thinking C because you hate it?
If I'm choosing it as an adult, that's straight up. We're not even.
What do you choose it as a Game of the Year winner for the year that it won?
God, that's a lot of suspension of disbelief right there. Um,
I will say, at the very least, I think it definitely deserves to be above both Journey and It Takes Two, because I feel like those are two examples of games, and maybe I'm a little bit off base in saying this, but examples of games where it feels like what critics thought of those games versus what the general public consumer thought of those games were a little bit misaligned. Like, I felt like maybe critics over-reviewed or under-reviewed one game, and then people thought better of it than they thought of it. Whereas GoldenEye 007, a game where critics and the general populace were in agreement of like, yeah, this is awesome.
Chad, what do you think?
I mean,
think
everyone's
split the
got
difference.
great memories of that thing. So yeah, I'll cede to an A or an S wherever you guys feel like it's good.
Ooh, I don't like it that high, but you guys have both said A, so I guess I'll put it at A. I was gonna put another one at B, because when you look at that list and like the game at A and these ones at B, but we're talking about for the time and the period. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, Batman Arkham Asylum.
S tier, baby.
Batman.
S tier. This game fucking made superhero games, not pieces of shit. It had been, I don't know, in the last time we got a good superhero game, and this one, obviously influenced and defined what superhero games would be and still are for the next, what's it been, 15 years since this game came out?
Well, in combat, because how long after this game came out was it like, oh, it's got Batman combat? Because they're like, this combat's fucking fun, and everyone was doing it.
People no longer say this because of what's happened to Rocksteady recently, but back in the day, every single year where we would go without a new Metroid game, I would hear people say, man, it'd be great to have Rocksteady make a new Metroid game. When someone's like, oh yeah, X Studio should make a new Metroid game, for a Nintendo fan, that is like the ultimate marker of respect. So yeah, I think it's got to be S.
Shout out to the Batman.
And it was in 3D.
Yeah, I tried to get as
TV.
much box art as I could for these, just because they're JPEGs and not AVIV files. And yeah, it's the Batman Arkham Asylum had 3D capability in it.
Yeah.
Wild. On the Game of the Year edition box.
There was a bunch of games around, like the Uncharted games. You could play those in 3D.
Yeah.
3D was a big thing back there before everyone killed it.
Motorstorm, I think, was one. Yeah. Next up, we'll go with, I'm going to give some Nintendo love. Zelda Breath of the Wild.
C tier.
Damn. I mean, this is S. And
Is it?
people know that my, appreciation of this game has fluctuated over the years, went from kind of liking it despite having not completed it, to being really down on it, to being really high on it after more recently completing it. I mean, if we're ranking the games on this list based on their influence and importance to the industry as a whole, it's like, come on.
Game of the year?
Because Breath of the Wild invented open world games. No one had made a boring open world game before Breath of the Wild, and then that was the one to do. Here's the thing. Chad says C. My personal opinion probably agrees with that. Cozy says S. But, I don't want to give it an S either. So I'm thinking we're going to have to split it between A and B.
Listen.
I want to put it C, Chad. I'm with you.
Boring ass game with bad combat. Not like the combat wasn't great. It was bad combat. Every quest reward was not worth doing the shit you wanted to do. You had to do the quest. There was no story. It was just a bunch of go run around mountains and go into shrines and hate your life while you do it all. This game did not, in the very same year, did not deserve to beat Mario Odyssey. Did not deserve to beat Horizon Zero Dawn.
I think it's better than Horizon.
Did not deserve, there are so many games that year that deserved Game of the Year more than Zelda Breath of the Wild as just like games. The only thing this game deserves accolades from me for is the fact that it somehow fucking ran on Switch. Although it didn't, because you fucking go to the Great Deku Tree in that game and it stuttered till it's fucking caught fire because the grass was too much grass movement for it to run at a decent frame rate.
I'm in such a weird position here because, this game in my mind is an S, undoubtedly, but also, again, I like this game a lot. I really have come to appreciate it over the years. It's not like even my favorite Zelda game. So it's like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I have to stake my entire life like it depends on it when it comes to arguing for this game. But again, going back to the whole point of this tier list, if we're ranking games based on their importance and influence on the industry, it's like, okay, so earlier we talked about GoldenEye versus Journey and It Takes Two. Like, I feel like, again, we gotta look at the middle of the list. Journey and It Takes Two. I think, sure, it was pretty influential. Just let me see. Say
Keep going. Keep
the end of my
going.
thing.
I cannot see right now.
You
Keep going.
can't put it back in the thing at the bottom. Like, obviously, Journey was like, it was pretty great to see an indie game pop up. I'm just not gonna even. I'm gonna have my eyes closed. Look, what I'm trying to say is, I don't. Between It Takes Two, Journey, and Breath of the Wild, I feel like there's a pretty clear delineation there where it's like you have to put Breath of the Wild above those two games in the same way that you would put 007 above those two games. Can we agree to put it at A and then call it a day?
Nah,
You know what I'm going to do, Cozy? Because
What?
this is what happened in our game of the year. We don't like the game that you pick, but for some reason it still wins. I'll give you B. I think it's a C with Chad. I would, obviously, a lot of people would think it's an S tier game. I'll split the difference at B. We'll go no higher. Because technically, you want to go by votes, it's a C game. So me putting
That's
it
true.
B is
That's
giving
true.
you a favor.
All right.
Sexual favor.
Even though that's wild to put that Will Goldeneye, but I don't care. I do not like Breath of the Wild. Next up, Dragon Age Inquisition. Where do you guys think Dragon Age Inquisition goes?
I've never played a Dragon Age game. In fact, I don't even know if I know what Dragon Age Inquisition looks like. Although I know it's a BioWare game, so it's one of those where, like, spend 3 minutes reading 12 dialogue options, and only one of them is going to be worth... You're only going to see the outcome of one of them. So on that alone, I'll say B. I don't know.
Years ago, I remember coming across an article. I don't remember where this was, but it was like Dragon Age Inquisition winning the Game Awards is like when Crash won the Oscars of the year it came out. And I think that's pretty apt. Dragon Age Inquisition, not a bad game, but compared to all the other games it was competing with that year, it kind of feels like you just kind of won because it was by default maybe an inch above, or not even that it was necessarily the better game of the bunch, but that it was the game that most properly fit the mold of what a Game of the Year winner should be. My personal Game of the Year winner for that year would have been Mario Kart 8, but like Mario Kart 8 is not going to win Game of the Year. The other thing about Dragon Age Inquisition is, if you remember, that was the first game BioWare made with Frostbite. They wanted a new engine to run the Dragon Age series after Dragon Age 2. EA said, hey, why not try Frostbite? And that game, from a technical perspective, wasn't the best product that BioWare has ever put out, but it ran well enough to convince them and everyone else that they could continue using Frostbite with all their subsequent games, and that ended up being the wrong call. So I feel like it has to go D on the basis that this game led BioWare kind of astray and down kind of a dark path unintentionally.
I say, did it lead it astray when it's winning Game of the Year at multiple different outlets? Is this game leading them astray? You're saying the next game. This game, though, it led astray when you win a bunch of awards?
This game convinced them, well, if we can make a game this good with Frostbite...
Oh, so you're just saying that the game is good. You just said the game is good.
I think it's one of those things where things manage to work out.
I'm with you. I don't put this above C, is what I think. I like Dragon Age Inquisition a lot. I think it's super fun. It definitely just feel like it fits the mold of like, this is the big AAA fantasy game that wins from BioWare. I don't think it does anything special or crazy. I mean, you give me your argument for D. I'm just like, as someone who's actually beaten it, I don't think it's that low, but maybe it is. I don't know. It's C or D.
I do want to say I'm a little here's the thing. I'm a little bit biased because I care more about Mass Effect than I do about Dragon Age, and I'm
me too.
Upset that things went so poorly with Mass Effect Andromeda, despite that not even being that bad either. And so I kind of hold a grudge against Inquisition in that way.
That's not Inquisition's fault.
Truth be told, I don't really have any hate for Inquisition, and I know there are a lot of people over the years who have spoken up and been like, yeah, I think Inquisition's pretty good, but wow, S tier.
No, I'm just messing with you. Do you think C or D? The fact that nothing's in C kind of just makes my brain want to put something in that slot.
Correct.
I mean, I think it's better than Okami.
Inquisition.
I think it's better than Okami. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. That is an interesting. We didn't even talk about that. Is it better than Okami?
Yes. Chad could play it for more than 5 minutes because of the RF receiver.
I would be At some point, I will play Dragon Age Inquisition, and I will come on the podcast with a segment called "Is this game better than Okami?"
You okay with C then?
I'm fine with it, but I'm definitely going to visit it at some point now.
Because you should. I'm excited for Veilguard. Very good. Next up, we're going to do, this will be the most interesting one, Overwatch, right? Here's the thing. I know nobody here is a big Overwatch player. And I specifically don't like Overwatch. I've tried 1 and 2, did not like them. But I cannot deny the influence that this game had creating an entire multiplayer genre when that is the most popular way that people play video games, and this subgenre is the most popular one of the most popular subgenres. So I want to give it its flowers for creating popularizing the hero shooter, but I personally don't like it.
Even
so
Concord
it's like
coming out, everyone's like, "Oh, another Overwatch clone," and blah blah.
Yeah, it's like, they're all Overwatch games. Every game like this is an Overwatch game specifically.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I played a free weekend of this game and enjoyed it so much that I bought the game and never played it again. Because I didn't have any friends who would play it with me. So, I paid $40 for it for some reason after playing a free weekend. Like, I enjoy playing this game. I'm just not good at it or have played it enough to get good at it because no one I know plays it. Actually, that's a lie. There are people I know that do play it, but they're on such like a pro level that
it's not worth playing.
Yeah, I won't have fun when I play with them.
I'd say for influence alone, it cannot go below B. And where it goes in between A for B to S, I don't know or care. But influence alone, you can't go.
I'll go
below
A
B.
over 007.
I would go A as well.
Okay. I mean, I think it's in the same way that 007 made people like multiplayer on console. This one created an entire genre that people also like. That makes sense to put it right there with.
With such a quality too, and the cutscenes and stuff like that they released for this, and the continued characters that they come out with.
What's funny about this is I remember the year it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I think people kind of looked on it at the moment as like, this feels kind of a weak win. Like it was another one of those years. So it's like, this feels like a bit of an off year. There's not a great pool of like titles to choose from. But the more and more years pass, the more I'm like, no, you know what? I think it was deserving of its win, regardless of what it was up against, regardless of how strong they were or weren't.
Very true. All right. Next up, we have Hades 1. Very interesting. Hades 1, obviously an excellent game. During the come up of roguelikes, when roguelikes became very big, and being the one roguelike that incorporated story into the mechanics of being a roguelike video game, which I think is where it gets a lot of its influence. And also everyone's super hot. It's wild. For me, it doesn't go below A. So A or S for me. I'm not sure. Though.
I have cooled on this game. I used to be real hot on it in a bad way. The year that it came out, because it was going up against The Last of Us Part 2, and everyone was like, Hades is so much better. It was Game of the Year, and I was like, fuck you for even bringing up the idea that it could be Game of the Year over Last of Us Part 2. Fuck you for even putting that thought into the universe. And I was so nervous, and I said, I swear to God, if this wins at Jeff Kiwi's awards, I'm gonna fucking riot. And it didn't. Last of Us Part 2 still won, thank God. But I refused to play Hades. I even almost like went on a smear campaign, you could almost say, for this game because of the possibility that it might beat The Baby I Love.
Which is wild.
And then I played it
so defensive of Last of Us 2. Yeah. Like, I hate this other video game that is good.
And then I finally, the following year, after the win was secured, I played Hades. I was like, fuck, this game's good.
Yeah,
S tier, baby. S tier.
I think S tier as well.
Game of the Year, completely deserved without the context of Last of Us Part 2 being there, so...
Cozy, have you played it? What are your thoughts?
This is a game that I've actually started multiple times, and each time I'm like, I'm enjoying myself, and then I drop off, and I never get back to it. But I think...
I've still never beaten the Minotaur and Theseus fight, so... I've not gotten,
in the case of this particular game, I think it actually mainly just comes down to what a time commitment it is. I think that the reason why I've never fully committed to it is because I know this is going to be at least 80 hours of my life. And so when the train gets going, I'm like, I want to.
He's talking about time commitment. He just beat all 3 Tomb Raider games just because. Like, I don't want to hear it. No, literally, you can beat this. You can actually beat it in like 25
But
hours.
If you want to get the platinum.
Oh, I don't care about platinum, so that means nothing to me.
I would put this at A.
We're going at S. Because Adam and Chad said it's an S.
I don't mind.
Well, you have to mind.
I don't mind this particular one.
Last but not least, Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, we already know how Adam feels. S tier, literally like the most, like someone's like, hey, we're going to do a thing. And then they actually did the thing where it's like every choice matters. You can do anything you want, be anyone you want. And the game actually adapts to any choice you make, succeed or fail. Also horny as well. That as well. And D&D, which is a setting a lot of people like. That game is a miracle of mankind, how well it turned out. So I think it's S, but what do you guys think?
I feel like I just realized you made this list so that we could make a new list where Lies of P isn't above Baldur's Gate 3.
You know what I was going to do? I was going to put Lies of P in here as a joke to be like one outlet gave Lies of P Game of the Year. This is strange. It should be a D tier, but I didn't even want to mess around with it. No, I just wanted to choose interesting games.
Yeah, let's put it at S. I don't mind.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with S.
All right, sounds good. So, our final tier list for 10 random Game of the Year award winners between BAFTA, DICE, IGN, and the Game Awards are at S tier, Batman Arkham Asylum, Hades 1, and Baldur's Gate 3. At A tier, we have GoldenEye 007 for the N64, Overwatch. At B tier, we have Journey and It Takes Two and Zelda Breath of the Wild. C tier, Dragon Age Inquisition. And D tier, Okami. That is my segment for the week, Chad.
Didn't realize people hated Okami that much.
It's garbage.
And that brings us to, we swear it's not the KKK, Cozy's Question Corner of the Week.
All right, everybody. Let's talk about questions. Let's talk about some non-gaming questions this week. I'm going to ask the two of you to each pick a number between 1 and 21, including the numbers of 1 and 21.
Whole integer?
Yes.
Okay.
What are you going with, Chad?
19. It's the number of cops.
2.
19 and 2. Number 19, this is short and quick. What is the best snack to eat on a plane?
Ooh.
That's interesting. Here's what I do, right? Because normally you're on a plane, they'll give you stuff. Do you want? It's basically the same options. The one time I took a flight, it was from Lexington to Cincinnati, and they were like, "Hey," and it was in the morning. They're like, "Hey, sir, have this." So because that's like a 35-minute flight, not even. Fuck, actually, that's like a 15-minute flight.
Jesus.
So they were like, "We don't have like the full service because it's 15 minutes. It's fine." They gave me a Stroop waffle, which you've never had one. It's like
yeah,
a waffle casing, more thin or whatever, and has caramel on the inside of it. First time I ever had a Stroop waffle, I was like, oh, I need every flight to give out Stroop waffles because this shit is banging. I like that more than the peanuts, more than the granola. Give me a Stroop waffle every time. I'm in there.
I agree. Yeah. Stroop waffles are the fucking bee's knees. Have you tried they have a cookies and cream Stroop waffle as well? That is also so good.
On my next plane ride, I'll see if they have it.
But my go-to snack that I get, and this is also from like a Be Responsible kind of thing, is I get one of those Larry and Larry plant-based protein cookies, just because like they're big enough that they'll fill me up. I'm also, usually when I fly, I'm flying from the West Coast to the East Coast, so it's like 8.5, 9 hours of travel that day, so need something to hold me over on those long flights.
When it comes to the long flights, I generally, like myself, something a little bit more on the gummy side. Some gummy bears are always fine. On my last plane trip back from LA to Montreal, I had a thing of trail mix with a little bit of chocolate that was pretty tasty. I like something more in that kind of realm, the like small little tiny snackable realm. Stroop waffles are good. But I want something that I can just kind of grab a handful of and shove in my gullet.
You don't have trail mix with gummies in it, do you?
No.
Is that a thing? Okay.
No. I'm saying like either a thing of gummy bears or like a big trail mix.
Okay.
No, I would not mix and match, not cross my P's and Q's on that one.
If anyone does it, Google sugar-free gummy bear Amazon review, because that shit is the funniest shit of all time.
My favorite one is my butt was an upside down volcano.
Wow.
That's so good.
All right. And Adam chose number 2. Number 2 is, what's a location that you want to travel to in the future that you know next to nothing about outside of its name and general geographic location?
Just a place I've heard of that I want to go to.
I'll say Iceland. Just because I know you can see the Northern Lights from there, and that's about all I know. And it's a landmass up in the north of, I don't know, just like northwest of Europe, maybe. I don't even know its geographic location, I guess.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro.
Oh.
Maybe I'll see Vin. Maybe I'll see The Rock. We'll have a good time.
For me, back in high school, I had to do a project where we had to present a report on like a city in Central Europe. And our team was assigned a city called Dubrovnik. And so back in the day, if you'd asked me this question back when I was in high school, I could have told you all about Dubrovnik. But now I've basically forgotten everything about Dubrovnik. And so it quantifies as
it's pretty.
my answer. Ooh.
Oh, man. That's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, right?
I remember it being like, oh, this is like a pretty cool popping off Central European city. But
I feel like you
know
could film a
just
Fast
little
and Furious
enough about
5
it.
movie here.
Yeah. It's like castles like on like in like a bay next to the ocean. It's
Okay, don't
nice.
spoil too much about it. Otherwise,
I'm just explaining what the architecture looks like. I
I
don't
won't
even
be
know.
able
It looks like the movie Luca was set there. The Pixar movie Luca.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
And
cool.
there we go.
And that brings us to Game On Game Show, the Game On Game Show, we play a game called Game On the Game Show, on our game show, game. This week, we've got a returning game. The game itself, while I get the screen, get away Adam's screen, come on, this screen, there we go. The game we are playing is GameStop Blackjack. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do one quick round this time because we're already almost to an hour and a half. So one quick round. The twist this time, because we usually try to do something unique or interesting about each time. This time we are using, again, the American GameStop trade-in values, because you remember there's that janky-looking Canadian GameStop site. We're using the American GameStop values. But we're going to do, there are two twists. One, it's going to be actual blackjack rules, where you're allowed to keep guessing games to get you to 21 without going over. So we're going to do that, and to make it fair, we're going to do it kind of in a snake kind of format. So you'll both choose your first game, and then we'll reveal the value, and then you'll both choose your second game in reverse order. We'll reveal the value, so you'll know kind of where you are and whether or not you want to stay or whether you want to keep going. And the theme of this one is they have to be games that are remasters or re-releases or remakes. So that's
How many?
the rules. As many as you can, as many as you would like to get you up to, but not over 21.
Oh, so we're going until we get close to 21, then we can stop.
Right.
Okay, I got you. Going at the same time. All right, I got an idea.
And remember, the platform matters, so make sure you specify PlayStation, Xbox, as well as perhaps even generation if it's a multi-generational title. So I feel like we go with Adam first on a lot of these, just because that's how I have it laid out on the spreadsheet. So we're going to go with Cozy first. Cozy, what is your first game that you would like to play in remaster, remake, GameStop Blackjack?
In remaster, remake, GameStop Blackjack. What about, would Batman Return to Arkham count?
Batman Return to Arkham?
They put 1 and 2.
Oh, that's the collection? Like the...
Yeah. Or would that not count for this
If
particular
it was
purpose?
was that a PS4 re-release of the PS3 games?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, that would count because that's a re-release remaster kind of thing. Okay, so Batman Return to Arkham is your game. Adam, what is your game?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
wait,
have to
sorry.
give me-
What's the platform, Cozy? What are we looking at?
PS4.
PS4.
Now, let's see you to give me some leniency on this one.
All right.
I think it's like called the Handsome Jack Collection. It's the Borderlands
sure,
Collection. I think it's 1, 2, and maybe pre-sequel. I don't know.
It's the Handsome Collection.
Can you give me some leniency if I don't know the exact name of the collection or the remaster?
Yeah, it's the Handsome Collection.
Like I know there is a Borderlands
PS4 and Xbox Series for...
yeah. Give me the PS4 version of whatever the Borderlands Collection is.
Okay, so you said PS4?
Yeah, give me a PS4.
Okay. So Cozy, Batman Return to Arkham on PlayStation 4 is $11.
Okay.
Okay.
Handsome Collection, if I could spell collection correctly, Handsome Collection On PS4, trade-in gets you $2.75.
Okay, there we go. We're moving.
So, first round done. Adam's at $2.75. Cozy's at $11. Adam, you're going first this time. What is your next game you would like to add to your GameStop Blackjack?
Cozy, are you staying or are you hitting?
Well, he gets to decide that.
Oh, as he
when
picks.
it's his turn, yeah.
Give me... Oh, fuck, there's not a physical version of this. Man. Give me Resident Evil 2 Remake. PS5. Was that a 4 or PS5 game? PS5 game?
That was a PS4 game that got a PS5 release, I think.
Give me whatever the oldest... Give me the oldest
okay.
version of RE2 Remake you can give me. I don't know if there's 4 or 5. Whatever one's the oldest.
All right, Cozy, what is your game?
I am going to go with...
Or you can stay.
I'm going to go with Life is Strange Remastered Collection on Xbox One.
Life is Strange Remastered Collection on Xbox One. All right, so, Adam, RE2 Remake on PlayStation 4 is
PS4?
worth more than the PlayStation 5 version. Oh, sorry.
give me
Sorry. Hold on, sorry. I'm looking at the Resident Evil 4 game. Let me back up.
Okay.
There is one version of the RE2 game, only on PlayStation 4. Okay. It is $7.70.
Okay.
And Life is Strange Remastered Collection. Never even heard of this one. Oh,
This one, it had like enhanced graphics, and basically, like, it wasn't just like a re-release. It actually featured enhanced stuff.
okay. So, Life is Strange True Colors, Life is Strange 2.
Not seeing it.
There is a Life is Strange Arcadia Bay collection on Nintendo Switch that is available for trade-in at GameStop in America. But no collection for an Xbox.
That might be digital only.
I would not go for the Arcadia collection because I feel like Switch versions of these collections are going to be valued a little bit higher than the other versions.
Because I did not state the consequence for guessing a game that does not exist in this database, I will allow you to re-guess without penalty. Going forward, if you guess a game that is not in the thing, it is an automatic loss.
You just
All
lose.
right.
You're done.
You just
Let's go
lose.
with Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition for PlayStation 4.
All right, GTA Trilogy, PS4. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. Technically called the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy the Definitive Edition.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
$13.20. Yikes. Cozy.
Ooh.
That much for that dog shit collection?
Yeah, which puts you at $24.20. Adam, you came in this round at $10.45.
I'll stay.
Which means you have won this round of GameStop Blackjack by not
had a
going
quick
over
question.
21. Yeah.
I had one that I was going to do. Again, obviously doesn't count. I already win, so it doesn't matter. But I was going to guess. Never mind. It's gone. Never mind. It's gone.
All right. Well, that is it for Game on Game Show, and that is it for episode...
Oh, no.
No. Oh.
Bulletstorm remaster. Or like there's a Bulletstorm new game.
Just not a bad guess.
Okay.
I remember seeing that at a PAX.
That was the version of Bulletstorm where you could play as Duke Nukem.
Duke Nukem, yeah.
But they didn't. They recorded new dialogue for Duke Nukem, but they didn't change the lip syncing, and so he's entirely like out of lip sync with what's being said.
So Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition, and which platform?
Let's just say the PlayStation version of it.
PlayStation version is worth almost twice as much as the Xbox one. $2.75.
I'm a good guesser, guys. I'm a good guesser.
Yeah. Bulletstorm. Where did you pull that out from?
That's why I was like, it's in there. It's gone. Oh, it's back.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for Game on Game Show. That is it for episode 363. That's a palindrome of Respawn Aim Fire. Your homework. Go and listen to the Tomb Raider Barf episode that we just recorded. That should be up right now. You have a new game to play for August, which it turns out I just realized today I stole from Cozy. I just totally commandeered that like a freaking American colonist and colonizer. So Cozy will get to do September's in my place, and I accidentally am doing August. You all have voted that it is Zelda the Minish Cap. We were doing handheld Zelda games is the theme for August, and you all voted for the GBA game Zelda the Minish Cap. You also, if you are a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/respawnAimFire, you now officially have access to our exclusive 1 month access of our Respawn Aim Fire game show, which is, I am having the biggest brain fart right now. I know we just recorded it. What did we do?
Well, gaming athlon.
Oh, this is the gaming athlon. It is the not the Olympics game trivia thing. Maybe we shame Jacob McCourt in it for several minutes. Who knows? It is a game that Adam created, that Alex put on, that is a duel between me and who else was on that? Joel was on that. Asa last
Roger.
name.
And
Roger last name. So those two were on it with
Definitely
us.
worth $1. Legitimately,
100%.
just do it for 1 month and then watch that video early, because
we talked about this last week, but like it is visually, technically, on all fronts, one of the best things we've ever done.
I know we say this a lot every time Cozy pulls out a new RAF game show, but like this one blows everything out of the water quality wise. Like it is a huge step up. So congrats, Cozy. Thank you so much for doing that. That's up right now for patrons. Everyone else, if you are a person who does not like to support us on Patreon, you can support us still with views and listens to the previous month's episode, which was Locked and Loaded, me versus Joel. Very tense episode up until the very last question. Could have been anybody's game. Who knows who won? We do. And maybe you do too if you paid $1. And maybe you don't if you're listening to it now for the first time. So that's up live now for everybody. Go check that out. Cozy, you have a finale of something coming up very soon. What is it?
Yes. On this upcoming Wednesday, which is going to be August 7th, I'm going to be debuting the final installment of Cozy Bear's Cooking Season 5. This is a world exclusive for you podcast listeners. I am going to be making basically Rice Krispie treat versions of the official Tim Hortons cereal. Here in Canada, we have official Tim Hortons cereal based on their chocolate donuts and birthday cake donuts. I'm going to be making Rice Krispie treats out of those cereals, and then I'm going to be molding said Rice Krispie treats into the shapes of donuts. So it's going to be donuts all the way down.
Get a side of coffee milk with that, you'll be good to go.
Oh, gross, nasty. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. But I would recommend watching Cozy Bear cooking.
Cooking in the
Cozy Bear's
kitchen with
Cooking
Cozy.
at twitch.tv/Cozy Bear Live. That's KOZIBEARLIVE. You can also find my shows live on youtube.com/@Cozy Bear Live, same spelling.
Perfect.
5 p.m. Eastern
Go check
Standard
that out.
Time.
5 p.m.
August 7th.
Wednesday, August 7th, the day before Deathbound comes out. That's it. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Until next time, here's our usual sign off. I'm cooking in the kitchen with Cozy. Cooking in the kitchen with